Across the United States, dealerships are quietly unloading bikes they once couldn't keep in stock. From touring legends to modern experiments, these 14 Harley Davidson models are collecting dust in showrooms. Dealers are slashing prices to move them fast. And wait until you see the last Harley on the list. It's going for a steep discount you won't believe. Number 14. Harley Davidson Street Glide Special. It once set the standard for modern touring, blending highway comfort with a bold visual profile. At its core is a Milwaukee 8 117 engine with a displacement of 1,923 cubic centimeters, producing 105 horsepower and 130 pound-feet of torque. The braking system features electronically linked front and rear calipers with a reflex defensive rider system. Up front is a dual bending valve fork, while the rear uses emulsion shocks with hand-adjustable preload. The wet weight comes in at 811 pounds, with a seat height of 26.4 inches. Starting price is $27,000. Despite these numbers, riders in Michigan and Arizona are walking away. For many, the size no longer justifies the purpose. Its legendary batwing fairing and stretch saddlebags still look great, but the riding experience no longer feels as compelling. Riders increasingly seek stripped-down bikes that are easier to manage in city traffic and simpler to maintain at home. And with infotainment systems becoming standard across all touring lines, its once unique cockpit no longer turns heads. Inventory is built up quietly, especially in metro areas where buyers are trending younger or downsizing their fleet. Dealerships are offering longer test rides and accessory credits, but showroom activity continues to cool. A legacy design without a modern hook may soon be little more than a museum piece. But while the street cruiser got left behind on the open road, the next one barely made it out of the dealership showroom. Number 13. Harley Davidson Road King. Few bikes carry the legacy this one does. The engine is a Milwaukee 8 107, delivering 92 horsepower and 110 pound-feet of torque with a displacement of 1,746 cubic centimeters. It features a reflex-linked anti-lock braking system, dual bending valve front suspension, and hand-adjustable emulsion rear shocks. The wet weight stands at 828 pounds, with a seat height of 27.8 inches. The starting price is $19,499. In Pennsylvania and Kentucky, it is becoming harder to sell. Buyers are drifting toward bikes that offer more convenience for less effort. Without a fairing, a touch-screen display, or advanced rider assist features, the platform begins to show its age, especially when parked next to higher-tech models in the same price range. Some riders still appreciate the raw simplicity. They want steel, chrome, and wind in the face, but many more are choosing machines that combine heritage with modern upgrades. The result is a slow fade for what used to be a staple in parades, long-haul rides, and veteran clubs. The quiet drop in popularity has led to a visible inventory buildup, particularly in areas where ride seasons are shorter and buyers want year-round usability. It is still a machine of presence and power, but power alone is no longer enough in today's competitive touring category. And if tradition can't save the Road King, what happens when performance meets indecision? We've looked into dealership trends, and it's clear. Some Harley models are struggling to find their place in today's market. What do you think about these bikes? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into motorcycle industry shifts. Number 12. Harley Davidson Lowrider S. This bike was built for riders who wanted performance without compromise. It combined aggressive West Coast styling with serious power, wrapped in a sleek, no-nonsense package that instantly made its mark in Harley's performance lineup. Under the tank is a Milwaukee 8 117 engine with a displacement of 1,923 cubic centimeters that produces 104 horsepower and 128 pound-feet of torque. It uses a dual front disc braking system with floating rotors, a 4-piston caliper in the front, and a 2-piston floating caliper in the rear. Suspension comes from an inverted front fork and a coil-over rear monoshock with preload adjustment. The wet weight is 659 pounds. And the seat height measures 27 inches. The starting price is $20,000. Despite its raw appeal, buyers in Nevada and Oregon have stepped back. While the low-profile bronze accents and blacked-out details hit all the right notes visually, the practicality just doesn't match the price. It rides hard, leans aggressive, and sacrifices long-distance comfort for style and torque. For the daily cruiser or budget-conscious enthusiast, it feels more like a specialized tool than a versatile companion. In places like Portland and Las Vegas, where roads vary and riders want a balance of edge and ease, this bike ends up sitting idle. Younger buyers who once gravitated toward the image are now choosing more forgiving setups that support weekend escapes and weekday commutes alike. It still dominates in performance, but market momentum is shifting. Your ride deserves better gear. Helmets, gloves, tools. We link the ones we count on right in the description. But the next one proves that even practicality isn't enough when comfort takes a back seat. Number 11, Harley Davidson Softail Standard. This is the bike that promised everything a Harley should be: simple, loud, and ready for whatever the road brings. It arrived as a back-to-basics cruiser aimed at those who didn't need bells and whistles to ride with pride. Powering it is the Milwaukee 8 107 engine with a displacement of 1,746 cubic centimeters that generates 87 horsepower and 110 pound-feet of torque. Braking comes from a 4-piston fixed caliper in the front and a 2-piston floating caliper in the rear. Suspension includes a traditional telescopic fork in front and a hidden monoshock in the rear with preload adjustability. The wet weight is 655 pounds and seat height is 25.8 inches. The starting price is $14,900. It found early success in Indiana and Missouri, especially among riders looking for a solid entry into the Harley lineup without spending big. But over time, what was once minimal began to feel bare. Without passenger accommodations, luggage support, wind protection, or tech enhancements, the platform started to show its limits, especially for riders looking for a single, do-it-all machine. In cities like St. Louis and Indianapolis, showroom interest in the Softail Standard has cooled. Newer riders want value, not just simplicity, and older buyers expect some measure of comfort, even from stripped-down frames. This bike demands upgrades, and for many that's an extra cost they'd rather not face. What once looked like a clean slate now resembles unfinished work. From basic to bold, up next is a model that dared to go big and paid the price. Number 10, Harley Davidson Breakout. This long, low cruiser was designed to turn heads with its aggressive stance and muscle-bound style. From the chrome finishes to the wide rear tire and drag-style bars, everything about it screams custom attitude. Powering the frame is a Milwaukee 8 117 engine with a displacement of 1,923 cubic centimeters, producing 103 horsepower and 125 pound-feet of torque. The braking system features a 4-piston front caliper and a 2-piston floating rear caliper. Suspension is handled by a telescopic front fork and coil-over rear shock with hidden preload adjustability. The wet weight is 679 pounds, with a seat height of 26.2 inches. The starting price is $21,999. In states like California and Florida, the Breakout once drew crowds with its flashy design and street presence. But in recent years, the very features that defined it are working against it. The exaggerated rake, oversized wheels, and long frame make it a challenging ride in everyday conditions. Parking, maneuvering, and long-range comfort all take a back seat to appearance. In Miami and San Diego, dealerships have seen interest cool significantly. While the Breakout still has fans in the custom scene, its appeal among practical buyers has declined. The performance is strong, but the usability doesn't match the lifestyle of most riders over 50 looking for balance and function over flash. And in a market now leaning toward refinement and ride quality, flash alone just doesn't hold weight. Speaking of weight, the next one may have gone too far, literally and financially. Number 9. Harley Davidson Fat Boy 114. Few motorcycles carry a legacy like this one. Known for its wide stance, solid wheels, and unmistakable silhouette, the Fat Boy has long been a symbol of American muscle on 2 wheels. It runs a Milwaukee 8 114 engine with a displacement of 1,868 cubic centimeters, delivering 94 horsepower and 119 pound-feet of torque. Braking is provided by a 4-piston fixed front caliper and a 2-piston floating rear caliper. Suspension consists of a cartridge-style front fork and an adjustable rear monoshock hidden under the seat. The wet weight is 699 pounds and the seat height is 26.6 inches. The starting price is $21,899. In Texas and Illinois, the Fat Boy is still recognized instantly, but fewer riders are committing to it. The bike's solid disc wheels, low profile, and sheer bulk make it less versatile for daily riding. While it continues to impress in parades and bike nights, it struggles with agility, comfort on longer rides, and adaptability on rough roads or city traffic. Dealerships in Austin and Chicago report that more riders are now shifting towards slimmer cruisers or advanced touring models with better ride geometry. Despite its name and reputation, the Fat Boy's formula feels stuck in time. it remains iconic. But modern riders want more than just looks. They want control, comfort, and a sense of ease on every ride. And in those categories, this legend is beginning to fall behind. And if that classic silhouette can't hold attention, just wait until you see how fast the next one disappeared. Number 8, Harley Davidson Iron 883. For years, this was the gateway into the Harley world. It had the right look, the right attitude, and just enough weight to feel serious without overwhelming new riders. Under the tank sits an air-cooled Evolution engine with 883 cubic centimeters that produces 50 horsepower and 54 pound-feet of torque. The braking system includes a 2-piston front caliper and a 2-piston rear caliper with optional anti-lock braking system availability. It uses a standard telescopic fork in the front and dual coilover shocks in the rear. The wet weight is 564 pounds and seat height comes in at 25.7 inches. The starting price is $11,999. In cities like Denver and Columbus, this model once dominated the entry-level cruiser scene. But today it feels outdated. Riders expect smoother shifting, more forgiving suspension, and better heat management than what this machine offers. Younger buyers looking for their first cruiser have more refined options, and returning riders are opting for mid-tier models with better ergonomics and upgraded features. Over time, charm turned into compromise. Riders who once defended the simplicity are now facing repair delays, emissions, phase-outs, and a lack of technological updates. The riding community has evolved, but this bike hasn't. Once seen as a rebellious choice, it now feels stuck in the past. Even longtime fans are starting to admit that this might be the end of the road. Inventory is slowing down, interest is fading, and dealerships are quietly moving on. But while the 883 faded from relevance, the next one tried to reinvent itself, only to fail spectacularly. Number 7, Harley Davidson Nightster. This was supposed to be the fresh start, a clean break from tradition with a new platform, modern performance, and broader appeal. It features a Revolution Max engine with 975 cubic centimeters that produces 90 horsepower and 70 pound-feet of torque. The braking setup includes a 4-piston front caliper and a single-piston rear caliper with standard anti-lock braking system. Suspension consists of a conventional telescopic fork in the front and twin rear shocks with preload adjustability. The wet weight is 487 pounds and seat height measures 27.1 inches. The starting price is $13,499. Dealerships in North Carolina and Utah had high hopes when this model launched. It had lighter handling, a more responsive throttle, and cleaner emissions. Everything riders were supposedly asking for, but something didn't land. The design confused traditionalists and failed to inspire new riders who were already looking at other brands. In places like Charlotte and Salt Lake City, buyers quickly moved on. Many felt the machine lacked soul, too quiet, too clinical, and too far removed from the identity that made the brand iconic. For experienced riders, it felt underbuilt. For newcomers, it felt overpriced. It was trapped between being a modern sport cruiser and a Harley that no longer looked or felt familiar. What was meant to be the future of the lineup is now fighting for space on the floor. The demand simply never arrived. It is a bike without a tribe, too late for the old crowd, too offbeat for the new. And speaking of confusion, the next model is stuck between two categories and falling through the cracks. Number 6, Harley Davidson Sport Glide. Blending elements from both cruiser and touring categories, this model tried to offer the best of both worlds. At a glance, it looks ready for long-distance comfort, yet compact enough for urban use. Beneath the frame is the Milwaukee 8 107 engine with a displacement of 1,746 cubic centimeters, delivering 92 horsepower and 110 pound-feet of torque. Braking is handled by a 4-piston fixed front caliper and a 2-piston floating rear caliper. The suspension includes an inverted front fork and a rear monoshock with remote hydraulic preload adjustment. Wet weight comes in at 726 pounds, and the seat height measures 25.7 inches. The starting price is $19,999. In states like Georgia and South Dakota, dealerships initially promoted this platform as a jack-of-all-trades, but buyers never quite aligned with the concept. Cruiser fans saw it as too bulky. Touring riders found it lacking wind protection, infotainment, and storage. It exists somewhere in between, yet doesn't dominate either segment. Its detachable mini fairing and side-mounted saddlebags suggest versatility, but those same features often feel like half measures. Many riders in Atlanta and Sioux Falls passed on it after a test ride, reporting that it lacked the road presence of a full tourer and the minimal aggression of a pure cruiser. Now, inventory sits in limbo. Riders who want to commit to one style find better options on both ends of the lineup. This one tries to wear multiple hats and loses its head in the process. If the Sport Glide is struggling to define itself, the next bike has a much bigger problem. Nobody knows it still exists. Number 5. Harley Davidson Electra Glide Standard. There was a time when this model stood tall as the minimalist, full-size touring machine. It stripped away flash and focused on the fundamentals: reliable distance riding with zero distractions. Power comes from the Milwaukee 8 107 engine with a displacement of 1,746 cubic centimeters, producing 90 horsepower and 110 pound-feet of torque. The braking system includes a reflex-linked anti-lock braking system with front and rear disc brakes. It uses a dual-bending valve front suspension and premium hand-adjustable rear shocks. Wet weight is 825 pounds, with a seat height of 26.8 inches. The starting price is $21,999. In theory, it still has a strong purpose. But in places like New York and Minnesota, riders have evolved. Touring buyers now expect full touch-screen infotainment, built-in navigation, premium audio, and advanced rider assist technology. With most of those features absent, this platform feels more like a blank slate than a complete motorcycle. Even longtime fans are skipping over it in favor of more equipped models, reasoning that the price difference is justifiable for the added comfort and tech. For newer riders, the lack of headline features makes it almost invisible on the sales floor. Dealerships have struggled to position it. Its stripped-down nature appeals to a niche crowd, but mass appeal has faded. Now, units gather dust in northern showrooms, where winter riding is short and comfort matters most. The next one was designed for custom lovers, but now it's just sitting unloved. Number 4, Harley Davidson 48. It earned a cult following for its stripped-down attitude and unmistakable silhouette. The combination of a low stance, forward controls, and peanut tank made it instantly recognizable. At the heart of the machine is an air-cooled Evolution engine with 1,202 cubic centimeters that produces 65 horsepower and 73 pound-feet of torque. Braking is handled by a 2-piston front caliper and a 2-piston rear caliper with optional anti-lock braking system functionality. Suspension consists of a conventional front fork and coilover rear shocks. The wet weight comes in at 552 pounds, and the seat height measures 26 inches. The starting price is $12,299. In cities like Milwaukee and Memphis, the 48 once had no trouble turning heads. It was lean, tough, and unapologetically old school. But over the years, what once felt rebellious now feels rigid. Riders today are expecting more out of their rides: more range, more tech, and more comfort. Unfortunately, this one offers none of those. It is also beginning to suffer from its own design constraints. The tiny fuel tank limits ride time, the ergonomics are punishing on longer trips, and the platform has seen very little innovation in over a decade. In a world where even stripped-down cruisers are expected to deliver more refinement, the 48 feels frozen in time. It may still appeal to custom builders and nostalgia-driven buyers, but in states like Wisconsin and Tennessee, dealers are finding it harder to move. The style aged well, but the experience did not. But the next one was supposed to be the flashiest of all. Instead, it became showroom furniture. Number 3, Harley Davidson CVO Road Glide. This machine was built to be the crown jewel, a fully loaded powerhouse dripping in chrome, audio upgrades, and limited edition finishes. Behind its sculpted fairing is a Milwaukee 8 121 engine with a displacement of 1,987 cubic centimeters that produces 115 horsepower and 139 pound-feet of torque. It features a reflex-linked anti-lock braking system with Brembo 4-piston calipers, high-performance front and rear suspension with adjustable preload, and electronically controlled ride modes. The wet weight is 894 pounds, and the seat height measures 26.7 inches. The starting price is $51,499. In California and New Jersey, this top-tier cruiser was expected to command long waiting lists. Instead, it has become an expensive piece of showroom decor. The reasons are layered. Riders are increasingly comparing value, not just image. And this model pushes past the threshold of what many are willing to justify. The features are impressive, but at over $50,000, expectations are sky high. Despite the power and refinement, buyers are looking elsewhere. In places like Los Angeles and Newark, riders are opting for lighter touring options or investing in 2 bikes rather than one flagship model. It turns heads, no question, but turning a profit has become harder. Once considered the peak of Harley engineering, the CVO Road Glide now sits beneath showroom lights, waiting for a buyer who still wants it all. And if even the top-tier models are being pushed out, the next one proves that no amount of history can save a forgotten frame. After analyzing sales data from across the country, it's easy to see why certain Harley models aren't moving. What's your take on these bikes? Are they stuck in the past or do they still have a chance? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more updates on the market. Number 2, Harley Davidson Deluxe. This model once stood as the crown jewel of vintage styling. With deep fenders, chrome details, and white wall tires, it was built to honor the past while still holding its own on the open road. Power came from a Milwaukee 107 engine with a displacement of 1,746 cubic centimeters, producing 92 horsepower and 110 pound-feet of torque. The braking system includes a 4-piston front caliper and a 2-piston rear caliper with a standard anti-lock braking system. Suspension consists of a high-performance telescopic front fork and a hidden, easily adjustable rear monoshock. Wet weight comes in at 675 pounds with a seat height of 26.8 inches. The starting price was $18,599. Dealers in Louisiana and Alabama are still holding inventory, despite this model being discontinued. The issue wasn't build quality, it was direction. While many riders appreciated its visual elegance, they were no longer willing to sacrifice comfort or practicality for design alone. Compared to other Softail models, the riding posture felt cramped, the range limited, and the platform increasingly outdated. In Baton Rouge and Birmingham, interest dropped sharply once newer bikes with rider-focused technology entered the lineup. Many owners who loved the look quickly found themselves modifying bars, seats, and controls just to stay comfortable. For an older audience, that kind of aftermarket journey felt more like a burden than a bonus. Now it lingers, classic in appearance, but fading in relevance. The Deluxe was never a bad bike, but it became a slow one in a fast-changing market. But there's one bike that defines this entire crisis: overpriced, overstocked, and overstaying its welcome. Number 1, Harley Davidson Pan America 1250. It was a bold move, a total reinvention meant to introduce the brand to a new class of riders. Built for exploration and equipped with cutting-edge features, this model was designed to challenge the world of adventure touring. At the center is a Revolution Max engine with 1,250 cubic centimeters, producing 150 horsepower and 94 pound-feet of torque. It features a dual-disc front braking system with 4-piston radial calipers and a single rear disc with a 2-piston caliper, all supported by a cornering-enhanced anti-lock braking system. The suspension includes semi-active front and rear units with adaptive ride height technology. Wet weight is 569 pounds, and seat height adjusts between 31.1 inches and 32.7 inches. The starting price is $20,000. In Nevada and Colorado, early excitement quickly cooled. Adventure touring veterans found the controls overly complex, while traditional cruiser fans felt alienated by the platform's look and feel. In cities like Reno and Colorado Springs, buyers hesitated, not because the machine lacked engineering, but because it lacked identity. It was not fully embraced by either crowd. Even with competitive performance, long-range comfort, and class-leading tech, it struggled to build a community. Riders accustomed to established dual-sport brands found it unfamiliar. Those loyal to the brand's past preferred touring frames with lower seat heights and simpler instrumentation. Now it sits in showrooms, advanced, capable, and misunderstood. The ambition was enormous, but the response was not. From iconic models to bold reinventions, it's clear the motorcycle market is changing. Whether it's innovation or tradition, finding the right balance is key. If you found this video insightful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more on the bikes you should or shouldn't be buying. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.